What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with our first NFL video for the year. As always, I got Ethan joining me here, and we're going to be talking about every NFL team's over/under win total this year. So let's get into it, Ethan, here, and you can start with the AFC East.
Yeah, man, it feels great for football to be back. Just really exciting times. We're going to start with the Bills. I think they're going to hit that over 10 and a half mark. I think this is a pretty good line, but they should win 11 or 12 games this year with Josh Allen being in his prime still and their defense still being loaded. I do like the Bills here with 11 wins.
And then I'm going the under here. I think they're going to not even break 500. I think they're going 8-9. I was close last year. I thought they'd go 8-9 last year, but they, turned it around right when it mattered most at the end of the year. And I think this is the year to be under 500 if they do it. Lost a lot on defense, lost Diggs in free agency. So they're kind of hurting at the wide receiver position, but Josh Allen being the most overrated player in the NFL, I don't think that's the case. I just think that's his style of football, and you live and die by the aggressive play.
And who would you say is the most overrated player? And this is putting you on the spot here. It's very
Oh
tough.
man, most overrated player in the NFL. All right, get back to me on that one. I got to think about that.
All right. Well, all right. Next is the Miami Dolphins, and I'm going under. And I think they're just a fall team. They're dancing around in the spring or in the fall. Sorry. And they are very hot in the fall, and then winter comes around, and they just can't seem to Tua just can't seem to get the ball to his receivers. And I do think this offense is going to be very explosive. And 9 wins is pretty fair, I think, with this loaded AFC.
I think I'm right there with you, and I'm looking at their schedule right now in the 8 wins. That's why I have them under. I think kind of like the cold thing. They play Buffalo first week of November, so it's starting to get chilly. And then you play at Green Bay first week of December. That's a cold
Yeah.
game. And you close with 2 games on the road at Cleveland and in New York against the Jets. And
Hmm.
just history for the
Right.
Dolphins under Mike McDaniel in the last few years. They just haven't been able to play good in cold weather games. We saw it last year in the playoffs against the Chiefs. Obviously, they struggled, and I just think that trend continues.
All right, and then New England. So we both had pretty much the same with Miami, very different with Buffalo, and now pretty much the same with New England. I think I am going with the over there just because there's some good vibes over there. They have looked rough, but Drake May has looked pretty solid, and I think the Patriot way they'll be playing against a lot of the last place schedule, so. They'll be playing against a lot of the bottom feeders, and I think they'll end up with 5 wins.
Yeah, I'm going under. I just think that this schedule to start the year, good luck. You play Cincy, Seattle, the Jets, and San Francisco. I don't see them winning a game there.
That's a
I
no and
just
four
think
start.
the vibes from that point on aren't going to be the best. But I do think Drake May will take over at some point this year. The question mark is when. I say if he takes over earlier, then I can see this team definitely going over that 4.5 wins. But I just think it's going to be too little, too late. I think he'll be in the back three-fourths of the season, probably around game 12, 13. I think he'll take over. And I think that's why they're going to be in the under.
Yeah, I could also see Drake May coming in after that brutal 0 and 4 start. I could see them they just kind of feed them to the wolves during that time period as well. All right, so next, the New York Jets, cool new logo. I'm gonna take their under. This is a very good line, I think. 9.5. Some people are very high on him, and just like last year when Aaron Rodgers was healthy, we saw what he could do with his MVP years. And you, as a Green Bay Packers fan, I can see why you have the 11 win total here.
Mhm.
But I think they're not going to be as good because it's a very tough division. So 9 wins, but I could definitely see him going over as well. But it's hard to see. It's hard to say that now.
Yeah, and I think they're going the 11 because the defense last year was awesome. And if we can get any production out of that offense and a quarterback actually can throw the ball, I mean, it's kind of tough for the Jets not to at least get 10 wins, right?
You'd think so, but man, a lot of injuries have hurt them in the past as well. All right, so AFC North, the best, in my opinion, the best division of football. To start, the Baltimore Ravens with a 10.5 line, along with the Bengals with a 10.5 line, and these could go either way for me. For the Ravens, I have them just going under at 10 wins. I think they'll take a step back with their losses on the defensive end this past offseason. But I don't think it'll be a huge step back. But also the Bengals are getting better with Joe Burrow being healthy and the Steelers got better with Russell Wilson. say what you want, but he's better than Kenny Pickett. So more competitive division. And so that I think with the result of that, they'll have 10 wins.
I think I'm going the over. I think the hype is there, and why not? I mean, after last year, what they did in the regular season, I get the division's going to be better. You also got better too in adding Derrick Henry, and
That's
then
true. I didn't
the
mention that.
option. I'm sorry, but that first half of the season, good luck trying to stop Baltimore. I know they play some tough games and started with Kansas City in a week here. I wouldn't be shocked if they go in there, not blow them out, but really get some confidence and t get a good big win there moving forward. And I think if they can get that win week one, I think the whole league's going to be on notice for that run game.
That's a solid take there. All right. So Cincinnati Bengals, man, you got all right. With my pick, we're going 11 wins. I think it's just because of the competitiveness, I think dropping down another loss. 12 wins, I think is right around that range for them. I could see them. It's just I would say losing Joe Mixon kind of hurt them for me.
Yeah, I think this is where what you mentioned last time in the other slide for the last place division. Well, the Bengals finished in last year, and if Burrow stays healthy, they still got a decent running game in Zach Moss and Chase Brown. I think both those guys will be great for this team. And then Chase, they expect him to play week one, and Higgins obviously as well too. But let's say all those guys, there's no drama, everybody's playing fully healthy.
Yep.
The Bengals, I'm looking at their schedule. Obviously, besides all these conference games, their toughest game at Kansas City, home against Philly, and at Dallas. So that's what, 9 games right there. Then everything else other than that. So that's 7 games. Let's say they go 7-0 there, and they split with the division 10. I mean, I think at worst this is an 11 win football club, and that's just my opinion, just based on what we've seen from a full season of Joe Burrow. And then I'll jump right into the Browns. I think they're going to be, unfortunately, that casualty, the AFC North. And there's always going to be one team that, doesn't exceed expectations, just doesn't be able to compete with all these top teams. And I think that's going to be the Browns. And one of the two most overrated players, I'm getting back to that, Deshaun Watson, he's got to be in that
For
category just
sure.
because what he got paid and what he's done there, absolutely nothing.
I also throw Tua in that mix as well, and maybe even Dak. I mean, he's had great regular seasons, but anyway, the Cleveland Browns, I'm with you there. I think they're gonna take a step back. It's a very tough division. You said I'm gonna say 6 wins, just because that defense is still loaded, and they're gonna be playing competitive football. Anybody in the AFC, if you're playing the Browns, you're gonna get a dogfight no matter what, and so they're gonna be in close games. And the NFL, they'll win a few games. So I could see this could really go anywhere for me, but I'm with you. This is the team I think out of these four who's going to take those brutal losses. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is my team, my squad. Over the 8.5 win total is a good line, I think, right there with the Cleveland Browns. I'm going with 10 though, because like I said, say what you want about Russell Wilson, but he scored 20 more touchdowns last year than Kenny Pickett did, and so with that defense and the solid coaching of Mike Tomlin. 10 wins is very attainable, and it is a tough division, but they play hard mouth football, and I think they'll end up with 10 wins.
Yeah, I'm going with 9, strictly on the fact that Mike Tomlin doesn't lose. And then obviously, like you said, bringing in Russell Wilson, he's a lot better than Kenny Pickett. And I think he will be a factor in them winning some games that they shouldn't, I don't want to say shouldn't win, but don't have really a big chance of winning those, the win percentage, I guess, from what I'm saying. But then I think there's going to be some head scratching losses as well along the way because I think this team's going to be a very up and down team all year. And that 9-8 mark couldn't look better. And then I'll jump to the AFC South and go right to the Texans. Texans, writing is on the wall there to be probably the best team in the AFC to possibly overthrow the Chiefs. I mean, I know that could be
A little,
not a reach, but I think it's definitely talked about with them, Ravens. It's definitely up there in the Bengals. Obviously, those three teams, the hype is there for the Texans. They just got to go on the field and produce. And I think they will in a big way. And I think this division could be better than I'm projecting it to be. But if I think how it's going to go, I think just the Texans aren't going to steamroll people, but I think they're going to win some games pretty convincingly as long as stays healthy.
yeah. I got the over 10 wins. I could definitely see them having a pop on off type of season. But you got to remember the year before last year, they were projected to be the worst team in the AFC, and they were the worst team in the AFC. So I don't know if it was a fluke. Obviously, CJ Stroud is not a fluke, and all their weapons now. But I want to see if that defense can play like like they did last year. So I think Jacksonville is better this year, as you can see. So it's gonna be a tough division, and there's always teams around this mark, I feel like, in this division. And then the Indianapolis Colts, I'm going under right at 8 wins. I feel like they're just a mediocre team. They could definitely reach this mark if Anthony Richardson starts going off for now, and Jonathan Taylor too. So a lot of weapons, but for now I'm going 8 wins for the Colts.
Yeah, and then I think I'm kind of the other way around. I think Anthony Richardson, I'm not saying he's going to live up to that hype of being a top five pick, but I think he will have a better year. And if he can stay remotely healthy, I think play three-fourths of the games, I think is a very good expectation, just because, what he's coming back from and injury history in the past. I think this team can be very good because Jonathan Taylor's still running the football. And that's all that matters, I think, for this Colts offense. Now we're going to flip to the Jaguars. And I think, unfortunately, there's going to be some breakups at the end of the year. And I think Jacksonville, it might be Trevor Lawrence. It might be Travis Etienne maybe getting moved. Something's going to happen here in Jacksonville. I just don't think they're going to put it all together. And unfortunately, it's going to be a failed season. But if I'm wrong, I honestly wouldn't be surprised just because what they started with last year, this was one of the best teams in football for the first half of the
Yeah.
season and then just completely fell apart in the second half. I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but if that's kind of how the storyline goes for the first three, 4 games, don't be shocked if this team is under 500.
Yeah, I'm with you there. There's some good takes there. I can see that happening. I'm just betting on Trevor Lawrence here. I think he's gonna have a big year, big comeback year, and the defense is solid still. So 10 wins. I think they're gonna be right in that playoff hunt, and they're gonna shock some people. I think that aren't betting on them, and they're just going in all in on the Texans. I think the Jags will shock some people for sure. And then the Tennessee Titans. Your team, your newly acquired favorite team. That's pretty cool. Their over under is 6.5, and I'm going under on this one. It's a very good line, but with three teams winning, with pretty good records in the division, just like you said with the AFC North, the Browns were that team that just took those tough losses. I think Tennessee will compete well. They just don't have the firepower, I don't think, and I think 5 wins is realistic for them.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna go the over because I think Will Levis, I'm not saying he's gonna be a superstar, but I think he's gonna gain some respect when it's all said and done. And I think the Titans have found their starter for the foreseeable future, for the next few years, I would say. But for me, the concern there is the wide receiver room. You got two pretty much 30-year-old receivers running your wide receiver room, and your wide receiver three is Tyler Boyd, who's 27. And then after that, it's Treylon Burks, who was a failed first round pick. So that's the big concern for me is if all these guys can stay healthy, then this team might win 9 games and possibly have a chance at the playoffs. Just because those guys in the receiver room with D-Hop, Calvin Ridley, I mean Tyler Boyd's been solid for the Bengals as well. If all of them stay healthy and they're all veterans and they know how to play in this league, definitely will help Levis out on some contested throws and things like that. But the run game is the big concern for me. Tony Pollard, coming off a down year, and Tajay Spears coming off a good year. They're going to be very good together. But the fact is, it's a new head coach, a lot of new things, new moving parts here in Tennessee. And I think that's kind of why they're going to be right around that 7 win mark. And then I'm also going with the Broncos over. Kind of same thing. Lots of moving parts there in Denver. Obviously, Bo Nix is the starter. Got Zach Wilson even on the team. Javonte Williams, make or break year for him because they got Audric Estimine in the backfield. Troy Franklin, Bo Nix's teammates there. Lots of moving parts on offense, and I think that's gonna kind of be the concern. I think Denver will struggle out of the gate, but I think late in the year, that's when they start to pick it up because that's kind of what we saw last year with the Texans. Struggled kind of the first 6, 7 games, but then really put it together. I'm not saying the Broncos are the team that could possibly do that this year, but the history is there with Sean Payton, and it could possibly happen.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I also have them at 6 wins. So let's just get right into the Chiefs. I think they're going to win this division again. They've won it, what, 7, 8 straight years?
I
Something
think
like that.
ever since Mahomes has been the starter.
So 7 years, I believe. I'm not dumb. I'm going to have them winning the division again. 12 wins. I think they're going to be better. they did lose their really good corner. I forget his name now. I'm blanking on his name.
Sneed, the Jarius Sneed to the
Sneed, yeah,
Titans.
they lost L'Jarius Sneed, a very big part in their defense last year. But overall, they had a really young defense, and with Chris Jones, they're going to be really solid. And Pacheco is just a beast. Obviously, we don't really need to talk. We all know about the rest
Mhm.
of the Chiefs, Mahomes and Kelsey.
Yeah.
So that's why I got them there.
Yeah, I mean, I have them at 11. I mean, I'm looking at right here from all my predictions. I have the Chiefs starting 0-3. Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Atlanta aren't easy games to start the year. And I think the panic is going to set in for the media, not the Chiefs, for the media. And I think if there's any time to bet the Chiefs to do anything remotely good this year, it's after those first three games. Even if they're 1-2, throw some money on the Chiefs there because I think from there, from that point on, obviously I have them winning 11 games. So there's three losses, let's say. What does that mean? They're going to go 11-3 the rest of the way for 14 games. I think that could possibly happen, but unfortunately, I still have them in the under. And now you want to talk about a team that I think is going to just explode this year. I'm going with the Raiders, and yeah, the quarterback situation isn't best, but I think Minshew, what he did last year in the Colts, he can repeat that performance with the Raiders. So I think this is kind of one of those fluky lines that I could definitely see the Raiders winning at least 8 games, maybe not 10, but I think I have some high expectations for them. Their offense is going to be good. Bringing in Brock Bowers, maybe Michael Mayer has a resurrection year, has a good year. And obviously, that defense and Antonio Pierce being the head coach, everyone was bought in. I think the Raiders can really shock some people this year.
Well, I'm kind of going. I'm with you there, but I'm not as high on the Raiders because I think they're just not. I don't think Minshew is going to be able to take them to where they want to go. But especially with the Chargers getting better, I'm with you. They have great players all over the place. I think with uh, Antonio Pierce coming their head coach, I think that could bring good vibes. But he's still a new head coach, and we'll see how that goes. So I'm a little skeptical there. And then going right into the Chargers here, I think they're going to win 10 games. They haven't been over 500 ever since Philip Rivers, I believe. I mean, it's crazy, but I think this is the year that they'll do it. People aren't betting on them as much. Jim Harbaugh, new head coach. I think that'll bring the physical mentality for the defense because they've been really bad the last few years. And then Herbert, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be a beast this year. And the run game will get going as well. So I think they'll win 10 games this year.
Yeah, I'm going slightly under. I think it could be 8 or 9 or 10 like yours. This one's tough. I'm staying away from it if I'm actually going to bet this. I think Herbert could be in that class as one of the more overrated players. I know the situation hasn't been the best for him for pretty much the last 3 years. I know they were really good and then blew that huge lead in the playoffs. Sorry, Chargers fans, got to bring it up just because it's the most relevant thing really the Chargers have done. And now that Jim Harbaugh's there, I expect this team to be really good next year once Harbaugh has really all his guys that he wants on the roster. Another full season of the drafting. But if before we get into our awards video, you'll see later. I think Lad McConkey has a really good chance to be that rookie of the year this year. Already emerging as wide receiver one. And speaking of wide receiver ones, we got those Cowboys and CeeDee Lamb off that fresh extension. I think Cowboys are going to win 10 games this year. They're going to be good, but that running game scares me. And that's why I can't see this team winning the division either. Obviously, you can see I have the Eagles having 11 wins. But I think the Cowboys will still make the playoffs, be a good team. But I don't think they're going to have a home game this year. And, Dallas in the playoffs the last 23 years, I think it is, 24, 27, whenever is the last time they won the Super Bowl. It's been a long time.
Long time.
I think the writing's on the wall there, and Dak and Jerry Jones aren't happy. So there could be, for who I mentioned earlier in Jacksonville, could be some messy divorces later this offseason.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they'll have 10 wins. I think this will be a typical Cowboys season. Dak will have a good, productive year. CeeDee Lamb obviously will have a productive year as well as one of the best receivers in the league. And the defense is pretty good as well. But it's just, I can't bet on the Cowboys. They do it every year. I don't know. They do it every year. And even if they win 12 games, which I don't see that happening this year with the Eagles getting Saquon Barkley and getting better. So that's why I have them at 10 wins. And I'm with you. I think they'll make the playoffs, but first round exit, like it feels like every year. So next, the New York Giants, and I'm projecting them to be one of the worst teams in the league. 2 wins. Malik Neighbors is a stud to start positively, but it just hasn't looked good for Daniel Jones in camp, and the Giants' offense look terrible. So and they're just not a good team to put it flatly. So it's tough because I got burnt last year with the Bucks, having
Mhm.
them predicting them one game, win one game. So I don't want to do this, but you got to make your predictions. So this is what I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of going the under here. I'm gonna give him a little more grace here. I think Daniel Jones, I don't know. I don't think he's like awful, but I think he's capable of being a starter in this league. But if he doesn't work under Dable in this year, I think it's his time to go. And if that's the case, I think Dable's gonna get his quarterback next year. And they'll give him one more year, kind of like the Bears are doing this year. And if that's the case, don't be surprised if the Giants try to trade up, maybe get Shador Sanders, Quinn Ewers, whoever is there, I guess, to work under Dabble. And that's pretty much what if you can look forward to as a Giants fan, if it starts off ugly. But like you said, Malik Neighbors, he's gonna be a stud. And then you got the Eagles. Both of us, I mean, I'm sure I can talk for both of us here. They're both going to win 11 wins. We both got that. Got Saquon. So, that's immediate help to this team. I mean, Swift last year was remarkable, but adding Saquon to that backfield, whole new level. But the big concern here is the offensive line. Kelsey's gone. I think they lost, what was it, Lane Johnson? I think he retired. So you're replacing two of the five. You had historically one of the best offensive lines in recent history. Defense is really good still, but it's a little shaky on the secondary end. But that front for the Eagles and linebacking core, I think is going to solve a lot of their problems in these close games if teams are trying to run the ball and, probably seal the game or take some clock away. I don't think the Eagles are going to let that happen. So these Eagles are going to be right in the mix and win this division as well.
Yeah, and the next team is the Washington Commanders, and with Jaden Daniels, I think he'll be good this year. I think 7 wins. I'm taking their over. I think they're going to be a lot better. For some reason, Austin Eckler is just getting taken very late in fantasy rounds, so I think you should just go ahead and get him. I think it'll be a productive offense, and there's studs all over that defensive line and all over that defense for the Commanders. They always play competitive ball against the Cowboys and Eagles. And
Mhm.
with I think they really can they can upset the Cowboys and both of them really. So 7 wins, I think they're going to be unfortunately miss out on the playoffs because of this loaded NFC. But 7 wins for a new quarterback, new rookie quarterback in Washington, I think will be in the right direction for them going forward.
Yeah, and I think they won't even be mad if they get 6 wins. I think 5 wins, I think is a good starting point for Daniels because what he's got on offense there.
Mhm.
Um, like you said, I do like the way this team is trending now with new ownership, new everything, this and that. But Daniels, I think, like you said, they possibly could upset the Eagles and the Cowboys. Well, they got Philly at home in week 16 and in Dallas the last week of the season. So if they want to ruin some chances, that could definitely be the
That's going
time.
to be interesting. That's going to
And
be
I'll start with the Bears. I think, being a Packers fan, this Bears team is going to be good. And a little preview, I do have this team making the playoffs, the Bears. I do have them making the playoffs at 9-8. And Caleb Williams, as long as he stays, I think, very calm in the pocket, doesn't really, I mean, I'm sure he's going to have some rookie mistakes, but he's got a lot of help around him to limit those mistakes. And I think that's going to be the key here for the Bears. That's why he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. Let's be honest here, with a good running game and a good passing game. But this Bears team, there's a lot of hope there. I don't hope the Bears get their expectations up where they're winning the division because this might be the toughest division in the NFC. But the Bears definitely have a lot to look forward to in the near future.
Yeah, I'm with you. I am taking the under, but don't listen to this. If don't solely listen to me if you're putting money on this line because I could definitely see the over hitting. Like you said with Caleb Williams, he's looked really good so far, and the Bears haven't had a good quarterback in forever. And I think if they get those good vibes going, they could be very dangerous in this division. I think they could win 10 games realistically. I think their ceiling would be 10 games. But I do have the Lions over at 12. I think they're going to be really solid this year. Jahmyr Gibbs taking a big step forward again this year, hopefully. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, all the weapons for Jared Goff. And with one of the best offensive lines in the league, probably the best offensive line in the league, they're just going to keep rolling, I think. So I have them at 12 wins.
Yeah, and I think I can piggyback off what you said. The best offensive line in the league. I don't think Lions fans have ever heard that before. So that's a new one. But all glory to them. I'm still taking the under at 10. They'll make the playoffs, but I'm obviously a little biased here. And I think my Packers, this is the year where I think Love shines and possibly not going to win the MVP, but he'll definitely be in that consideration because that wide receiver room is so deep. They cut some guys that definitely are going to make other guys' rosters and possibly wide receiver threes. And it's just he's set up for success. And as long as Josh Jacobs coming in and just reintroduces the running game in Green Bay, this Packers team could be very scary.
I'm with you here, and I'm usually against you on your Packers takes. So I'm high on Jordan Love as well. Really talking fantasy here. I think you got to take him right after all that top four with Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Lamar. I think you got to be taking Jordan Love early as well. I do think the Packers. I do think the Packers will be really good this year and end up with 11 wins. So let's go with the Vikings, and I think they're gonna hit that under, taking steps back. But Jettas is gonna, if he's healthy, he's gonna have a massive year production wise, and I think he'll probably add 2, 3 wins to their win total this year, and to make it 6 wins total for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. Same thing. If McCarthy was healthy, maybe a few more wins. But other than that, I can't really see anything. So I'm just going to hop into Atlanta here. Obviously, Atlanta, heavy favorites to win this division because of Kirk Cousins coming in. And I think that's going to be the case. 11 wins. The Falcons got better. The running game is going to be great this year. And just, Atlanta, they got a lot to be looking forward to this year.
Yeah, they do have a lot to be looking forward to. I think they're going to hit 10 wins, but it's going to be a competitive division, and that run game is going to be very solid. So I think they're going to win the division as well. Getting into Carolina, I think they're going to be really bad this year. I got their under 3 wins. Not much else to talk about there. You got them at 5 wins.
Yeah, I think Bryce Young could take a big step forward this year. Doesn't show in the win column, but I think it can happen. Saints, I have him at 4 wins, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's another Raiders situation where Carr gets released. And I think Spencer Rattler might have the helm for at least 4 or 5 games to see what they got there in New Orleans.
Oh, that'd be really interesting. I don't have that being the case. Saints are just one of those teams that are always around the 500 mark. I think they'll be a little bit worse than projected. So I have them at 7 wins, and then the Bucks with the same line at 7.5. I have them going with 8. I think they'll take a little step back because they weren't expected to do that last year. And Baker coming off a big year, I just don't know if he can repeat that. Obviously, the consistency of Mike Evans, they'll be solid, but I'm going over Bucks 8 here.
Yeah, I'm going the over two. People got to remember Todd Bowles is still the head coach here. Don't forget that. And he's not, top 10 coach in the league right now. And I think that Baker, he's due for a regression year. I'm not saying like due because of 5 years ago, but off of last year's performance, that's going to be tough for him to top, but he definitely has the weapons to do so. And then our last division, we got the NFC West. Cardinals, I'm taking the under. I know that they got Marv and the run game's going to be there. Kyler's fully healthy. So there's some expectations there, but I just don't think in this loaded division, the Cardinals are going to be able to do it.
Well, I'm a little bit different here. I think with them getting their run game going and Kyler healthy, I think they're going to be a pretty explosive offense, and they'll be able to compete with these teams in their division. And there's always that one team that sneaks in. I'm not saying they're going to sneak in right now, so you got to stay tuned for that. But I'm saying they're going to win 9 games, and then we're going to get into the Rams. I have them winning 10 games and just missing winning that division. I think they're going to be really solid again this year. Stafford, only a couple more years left in his prime, but I mean, so they got to really take advantage with Cooper Kupp and Puka. A lot of older weapons, so they got to take advantage and win some games this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Rams could be really good. I think what is fair for both of us. I think it could be an 8-win team, or it could be a 10-win team and they make the playoffs. Unfortunately, I don't have that happening. I just think the injury history of Rams running backs, Rams receivers, Rams quarterbacks, even with Stafford, that's concerning for me, and I can't go for the over. But like once again, I'm not going to take this over under. I'm not going to bet on it at all. That's too risky for me. The Niners, I think I can confidently say they're going to get 12 wins and get that over just because, well, Christian McCaffrey's on this team. As of 10, 15 minutes ago, Brandon Ayuk re-signed with the team. So now he's back, and you still got Debo, still got Kittle. All these guys are fully healthy. And if that's the case, it's going to be tough slowing down that 49ers team that seems like they are on a train to get back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm with you. And Seattle to finish it off. I'm going under. It's going to be surprising because I'm high on Kenneth Walker and DK. I just don't know. That's a very big cap on the offense, and they didn't look good last year with Geno. He had good stats, but their offense was very stagnant and hard to watch. So I think they're still going to be solid, but 7 wins, they're going to take a step back because of the leap forward from Arizona.
See, I'm going the other way, and I say this because they got the Ravens defensive coordinator, ex-Michigan defensive coordinator as well. So I kind of know a little bit more than a lot of people do because obviously watching college and knowing this, he's going to be a good head coach. He's a big defensive mind guy, and he's not afraid to blitz. And Seattle's got a lot of speed in their linebackers and secondary. So don't be too shocked when this Seattle defense could finish top 10 this year. And I think that's going to give some teams fits. And, Seattle, well, they're a good football team. And last year, they do get the benefit of the doubt getting the third place schedule. So I think that's why they're going to finish 9-8. And don't count out Geno. I think Geno's just the ageless wonder. He's just now, it feels like, entering his prime with that team. And Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think that's going to be a name you're going to want to look out for this year. Just because, Tyler Lockett's getting older, and I think Smith and Jigba is going to fit right into that team on that wide receiver 2 spot.
And look at that, just thrown in just knowledge, fantasy football nuggets. I like it.
That's it. And that's going to be the end of our video here. Make sure you guys come back to check out all of our other predictions before the season begins. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.